Hi everybody! I hope you're all having a good day. I hope you're all smiling and enjoying your lovely day. Welcome to my ultimate guide to making iPhone blend shapes. In this following tutorial, you're going to be learning full in-depth on how to make iPhone blend shapes from scratch using the Blender program, learning about how to make your iPhone blend shapes look more dynamic, learning about the VRM conversion when it comes to making sure that your iPhone blend shapes are being read with a VRM program such as VCFace, and also learning some more automatic methods in case you want a more faster method when it comes to making the iPhone blend shapes, and much more. So I will be explaining all that here. Now, just a heads up warning, this following tutorial does assume that you have, you do have some sort of knowledge when it comes to navigating with Blender, having some basic knowledge when it comes to blend shapes, and just basic knowledge on how to do some 3D stuff in Blender basically. And also it assumes that you have basic knowledge into the VRM conversion process. If by any chance you do not have experience in any of that, in the description I should have left some links where you can be able to take a look and make sure that you get enough knowledge so that way you can be prepared for what I'm going to teach you, because Blender can be a pain in the butt sometimes. So if you don't have the knowledge, check the description. I got some resources there. So yeah. And also, if by any chance you are any of my more advanced users that you already make iPhone blend shapes and you just want to make sure you're doing everything right, feel free to skim through this video since I have timestamps. They should all be labeled accordingly, so definitely check that out as well. But with that being said though, let me first go over some basic knowledge on what the heck iPhone blend shapes are, and also the automatic methods before we get into the manual work. In case you don't know what iPhone blend shapes are, blend shapes are basically the emotes that you do basically on your VTuber model. That's basically what we call blend shapes. And to put in a more technical term, it's basically vertice data that moves around. You're basically telling the 3D program where the vertices should move when you activate a slider, basically. If I were to put that in the most simplest yet technical terms ever. So when it comes to 3D, we create blend shapes in order to give, face emotes and expressive, stuff to our character. And especially with VRM, we have to use blend shapes. And when it comes to the iPhone tracking, we will be using an iPhone, Apple product in order to track our face. If by any chance you do not have an Apple product or you absolutely hate Apple for some weird reason, there is an alternative, which is MeowFace, which is an Android version of the app. I won't go in depth on MeowFace though. Please consult Suvidrill for that app. But I'll go over the Apple side of stuff for the iPhone tracking. But this tutorial can still apply for MeowFace regardless though. But please consult Suvidrill if you have further questions about that app. So in this tutorial though, we are gonna need a couple stuff. So what we will be needing Blender. I'm personally using Blender 3.0, but you are free to use Blender 2.79, 2.9, 2.8, whichever version, as long as you apply your knowledge. That's very important. You will also be needing the VRM Import add-on, which link in description as well. I have that there for you. I also have a tutorial link down there that'll show you how to install the add-on, so please check that out. And once you download the Blender and also the VRM Import add-on, you will also need to download iFacial Mocap program. Once again, the link in description. You'll also need to buy the iFacial Mocap app as well, which is just $6. And once again, if you want a more freer version, there is MeowFace. I believe there's a way to get MeowFace working with Blender. I have not fully tested that, so test that at your own risk if you can. So there's that. And also what we will be needing further on, we will also be needing the UniVRM add-on and also Unity 2019, because we will be using those two to convert our model from FBX, from Blender, to Unity back to its VTuber self that contains the newly iPhone blend shapes. Now, if by any chance you want a more automatic method when it comes to the iPhone blend shapes, there are actually 3 methods to doing that. So, method number 1, Hana Tools. Hana Tools is basically a Unity add-on that gives a character iPhone blend shapes. It's more specific for Vroid models only, basically, and most of the time with custom-made models that are made from scratch in Blender, they tend to not work so well with Hana Tools. So if by any chance you are a Vroid model, definitely take advantage of Hana Tools. Although with Hana Tools you have to pay as well. You'll have to pay via Boost. I think the app is around $8 to $10. It really depends on your currency. So definitely check out that add-on. I won't be going over how to use it, as there already is a tutorial on how to use it from Argama Witch. So definitely check out her video on how to use that. And also, if you are a custom-made model and you still want more automatically made blend shapes, you'll have to use an add-on called Faceit. Vroid models can also use Faceit add-on as well, which, keep in mind, Faceit is about $78, and it's a Blender add-on instead. And it's really nice to have a more automatic method when it comes to making iPhone blend shapes, and it speeds up the process as well. Although do keep in mind though, when it comes to Vroid models, because of the eye type that Vroid models have, because they're plain mesh, it might cause some issues with Faceit. But even then, you can still get it to work with some tweaking and stuff, and it does a really good job though. So definitely check it out if you really want that automatic method. But honestly, most of the time I prefer to make it manually because I have more control of it, and I typically get less issues. But when I first made the blend shapes, it was a pain in the butt. But don't worry, I'ma save you. So yeah. Hopefully that information I gave you at least helps you get started when it comes to at least knowing what iPhone blend shapes are in a nutshell, and also understanding some alternatives if you want to make the iPhone blend shapes more faster. But even then though, I won't be going over the faster alternatives, as basically I'm going over the more manual way. So make sure to follow along with me when it comes to doing the manual way in Blender. It's going to be tricky, I'm gonna tell you right now. You're gonna cry. You're probably going to punch the computer. You're probably gonna punch your model like I did before. Don't you worry, it happens. It's perfectly fine, don't you worry. With enough practice, you should be able to master iPhone blend shapes, and you can probably start doing iPhone blend shape commissions. So yeah, but other than that though, why don't we get started on the Blender stuff, and yeah. See you guys in Blender. Welcome to Blender. This is where we're going to be making our iPhone blend shapes at. So before we're ever going to make these blend shapes, we'll have to basically put our VRM model into Blender. And as I said earlier in this video, I'm going to assume that you already have some basic knowledge when it comes to using Blender. If by any chance you don't have any knowledge of Blender, feel free to check out the extra video tutorials in my description, or check out my first episode of Let's Demify Blender to get you familiarized with how the Blender UI works and navigation. So make sure to, check that out basically. But I'm gonna go ahead and start off with deleting the assets here, the camera, the light, and the cube. So we'll go ahead and click and drag and press the X key and go ahead and delete. And also, if by any chance you struggle to see what I'm doing, look at the bottom left corner of the screen. There is a little indication that shows what my mouse is doing and also what my keyboard is doing as well. So make sure to check that bottom part in case you ever get lost. So there's that. And you can also slow down the video with YouTube speed tools if you need to have it slowed down. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the VRM Import add-on for Blender. Once again, there's a video that I linked in the description that will show you how to install add-ons. But just to at least give you a quick summary before I go ahead and continue, you would have to go into the Edit tab, click on Preferences, and then on the Preferences, you'll have to go into the Add-ons tab, and then on the top right, it'll say basically install the add-ons from the computer. You click on that button and you would click on the VRM import or zip file, and then the Blender will automatically install the add-on for you, and it should be installed perfectly fine. And make sure you press the check mark for the VRM import add-on, but that's basically it in a nutshell. So yeah, so we're gonna go into File. we're going to go into import, and we're going to import using VRM. If by any chance you're an FBX file or you already have your model into Blender, that's great. You can skip this part, but I'm going to go ahead and find the model that I have. I basically just exported a Vroid beta model. I didn't do anything to it. It's just literally the raw default female Vroid beta model. So yeah. And you can see after I click on material preview, giving it some time, it will show that there's a character right there. There you go. If by any chance, if your model does not import into Blender, you have a VRM file and it's not going into Blender, you can't see your model and you're having errors, what you'll need to do is you'll need to take that model, go into Unity 19, load UniVRM 0.66, import your VRM model into Unity, and then re-export your model under 0.66 UniVRM, which, like I said, I have all the assets in the description. You'll have to re-export your model as 0.66 and then import into Blender again, and hopefully that should resolve the issues. If not, then you might have to do some re-exporting, or if your model is made from scratch and you have the issues, then please either consult your modeler if someone else made the model for you, or you might have to do some trial and error with your model. It really depends on the situation you have, because sometimes Blender issues happen. But anyways though, what we're going to do first is we're going to start prepping up the model for Blendshape. So I'm going to go ahead and select the body and press the H key. It's just the H key. You can bring back any objects by doing Alt H, so don't worry. So just press the H key. That way we can focus on just the face. This is all we need to focus on, the face. So yeah, now I'll be using my numpad number 1 to look forward. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to expand the right side of my screen by just clicking and dragging, and I'm going to click on the object data tab, the object data properties tab, which will consist of our vertex group, which is known as our weight paint data, and also the shape keys, which shape keys is what we're going to be looking at. Now, by default, Vroid models tend to have very complicated looking Blendshape names, but they still have a very, they still have nice basic Blenshapes though, so that's really nice though. Feel free to rename them if you want, that's your own model. But what we're gonna do, since this model has pre-existing Blendshape, we are going to basically create some duplicates of the Blendshape that can be really helpful to at least somewhat making it faster or at least easier on us when it comes to making those Blenshapes. So, what we're going to do, first and foremost, we're going, especially for a Vroid model, we're going to start off with the MouthOpen Blendshape. Now, before I continue though, just to make sure I don't forget, if by any chance you don't know the iPhone Blendshape names, in the description as well, I have a copy and paste list in the description that contains the iPhone Blendshapes names. And the version that I have the capitalized version, and then I also have the lowercase version as well, as text files, so you can go ahead and download that if you want. So make sure to choose whichever. They both should work with iFacial mocap, but either way, they are there for your own use. And there's also a download for the Polywink model. So if you want a model that has a reference, so if you want a physical reference to how the Blendshape should look like, download the Polywink model in the description below. You can download for free. You can easily import the FBX file into Blender because FBX is it is also included in Blender. You can import the model and you can easily use the Polywink model, study the Blendshape, and apply it to your own model. Alright, so what we're going to do first of all, based on the list from the Polywink model and also the list that I have given in the description, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with basically extracting or duplicating the Blendshape. So we'll start off with the JawOpen Blendshape. So what we're going to do, you're going to click on this button right here, this thumbtack button. This basically is pinning your blend shapes, so that way you can kind of like easily go through each of them, so that way you can see each individual blend shape like this. You can't combine blend shape when you're on this mode, so if you want to combine blend shape, make sure that you disable thumbtack. But I'm gonna start off with the A blend shapes. So you're gonna go ahead and select that with the thumbtack, and you're gonna click on this arrow right here, and you're gonna click on the button that says New Shape from Mix, and you can go ahead and name that JawOpen. And once you have that, there you go. You can do the slider, and you should have at least a good start. Keep in mind we are going to be editing this very heavily, but I just want to at least help you at least get, you know, at least like a sort of setup so you can get kind of like getting a little head start with the blend shapes and making it easier for you. So once you have that, the next thing we're going to make is the mouse funnel blend shape. And do keep in mind also, when it comes to the default Vroid blend shapes here, they're not going to cover all of the iPhone blend shapes unless your model has the Hana tool blend shapes, and that works. You'll just have to fine-tune those blend shapes alone. But for this case, this model has no iPhone blend shapes at all, so we will have to make everything by hand. So we will be making at least just a couple, and then the rest of the blend shape, we are going to make them all manually, so I'll show you how. But the next thing we'll do is the mouse funnel. So in case you're wondering, the JawOpen is kind of like the A blend shape of VRM, except it's a different shape. It's much bigger than this. Or unless you want it small, that's preference, but usually it's big. So for mouse funnel, it tends to be like the O shape. So what I'll do, I won't be using the thumbtack. I will be using a mixture of the O and the U key. So that way it can kind of give that mouse funnel look. It'll look like this. And then you can go ahead, click the arrow here, new shape from mix, and that can be now its own duplicate blend shape like that. So that looks nice. And we're going to go ahead and name it mouse funnel. So now that we have that, now we're going to go ahead and create the, we're going to quickly create the winks, because when it comes to iPhone, there is no single blink blend shape like this. They have to be in the form of winks like this. So the Vroid models have this already. If by any chance you're making your model from scratch, you'll have to make this manually, but if you have the blend shapes already, then go ahead and use them to your advantage. So I'll use the thumbtack, and I'll go ahead and duplicate this. Now, before I do this, I do need to let you know that when it comes to the iPhone blend shapes, there is something called the, you know, the left eye blink, but there's also something called the left eye squint. So basically, the iPhone tracking, it tracks your upper eyelid and your lower eyelid. So if by any chance you want a more realistic and natural looking eye blink, the one that, like, if you look in the mirror, if you look at your own reflection, you see the way that you wink, you will see that your upper and lower eyelid tends to meet at the middle. While usually in animes, the eye tends to just go down. Like the upper eyelid tends to just go straight down. The lower eyelid is just very subtle. So if you prefer a more realistic approach, you will have to possibly make your left eye blink look something like this, and then have the eye squint basically reach to that middle part. But for this, basically for my sake of simplicity, I will just use just the blend shape itself. But that's just if you want a more realistic looking type of eye blink. So let's go ahead and duplicate that. So there's left, then we got right. So then we're gonna name this EyeBlinkLeft. I'm also gonna make it lowercase. My bad, I made that capital. So EyeBlinkLeft, EyeBlinkRight. Alright, so now that we have the eye blink blend shapes, now we have to make the eye widening blend shapes and also the eyebrows down blend shapes. And that should be pretty much the main blend shapes that we can get from the Vroid default blend shapes before we have to make the rest of the blend shape by hand, and also enhancing the blend shapes that we just made. So bear with me, since I'm going to be explaining a lot. So we're gonna start off with the eyes widening. When your upper eyelids basically go upwards, when you're having a shocked expression, that's what the eye wide blend shapes are. They'll look something like this. If you want something more dramatic or dynamic for your blend shapes, then make sure you have one where the eyes would dilate like this. If you don't want the pupil to scale like this, you can also make the inner pupil just dilate itself. It's really just up to what you want to do. It's your style, what you want. You can even do both if you want to, which is something I did on my model, but like I said, it's your preference. If you want something more natural and realistic, then just make the upper eyelids more up instead of the pupils. But like I said, that's your style. I'm going to use the surprise blend shape, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate that. And now the thing we have to do here is that for iPhone blend shapes, they need to be separated from our left and our rights, because iPhone tracks each individual eye. So we have to make one for the left and one for the right. So what we'll have to do, first and foremost, we need to go ahead and name this EyeWideLeft. So I will go copy and paste the name here, EyeWideLeft and then right, just like that. And you're gonna go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, or you can go to the top left and go into edit mode. That's if you want. That's pretty much the longer way, which I always recommend using the tab key and toggle it. Or if you prefer, you could do Control Tab, and you can access the different modes, which is a much more faster approach. So I highly recommend this one. All right. And once we are in edit mode, we will have to go into wireframe by pressing the Z key and clicking on wireframe. We're going to select the right side of our face, because keep in mind, when it comes to lefts and rights, we are talking about the characters left and right. We are not talking about as in our own eyes, we are not talking about our left and right. We're talking about the characters left and right. So for eye wide left, we need this blend shape. We need this part of the eye to stay wide, but this one to be default. So we will select this part of the eye, Control V, blend from shape, and you're going to make sure that the add little checkbox here is disabled. If it's on, just make sure it's unchecked, and there you go. This is how I also forgot to disable that blend shape there. So you should be able to have something like this basically, and that's correct. We can also do the same thing on the EyeWideRight blend shape, where we go on the left side instead of the character, and we will do Control V, blend from shape, and reset it, and there you go. Just like that. So that way they can mix, because iPhone blend shapes, they will always mix with each other. So please keep that in mind. A lot of these blend shapes, they are just combining with each other. So now that we have that, we now have to create the eyebrows down blend shape, and then we're going to start moving on not only to creating the blend shape from scratch, but also there is a very extra thing I do need to warn you. It's regarding the doubles when it comes to models. I'll explain that in a little bit, but what we're going to do now, we're going to go create the eyebrows down blend shape. So I typically use Vroid's angry blend shape to achieve this, because typically with iPhone blend shapes, they tend to have the angry eyebrows when it comes to the eyebrows going down. If you prefer a more relaxed looking eyebrow, something a little bit more natural, I guess, you can just move the eyebrow down and just have it tilted a bit like this. If that's what you want, just doing that. But for me, I prefer to have it look angry, and since Vroid has a blend shape for angry, you can do just that. And once you have that, you're going to go click on the arrow, click on new shape for mix, and you're going to do that twice because we need it from the left and our right. So there you go. Now what we're going to do, we are going to go ahead and from the Polywink model, BrowDownLeft is what we're going to type in. BrowDownLeft, BrowDownRight. So now that we have that, we're going to do the same technique, basically selecting from one side, so brow down left, right side, we select Control V, blend from shape, and making sure that this is resetted. Same thing with the right blend shape. So brow down right will be the left side selected, Control V, blend from shape, and making sure the add is unchecked. So pretty much that. There you go. That looks good. Exactly what we need. So there you go. Now, before I get into the blend shapes, you know, the other blend shapes that we have to make, there is something that we do need to keep in mind. Now, with Vroid, the blend shapes should work fine. There should not be any holes on the blend shapes. However, because this is a VRM model. Now, if your model is FBX, you made it from scratch and it's, you know, doesn't have any issue with the vertices, feel free to skip this part. But for VRM models, whether you are a Vroid model or if you are a from scratch model and you just import your VRM model into Blender, regardless, if you're just a VRM model and if you port a VRM model into Blender, you need to be aware about doubles. Doubles is basically known as basically two vertices that would overlap each other and they don't merge. It tends to cause a lot of holes. So just to show you how they look like, we're going to go into solid mode so you can see everything properly. And I'm going to go ahead and select this part of the teeth, and we're going to do Control L. And what you see here, it only selects one part of the upper teeth. And this is what a double is. Basically two vertices overlapping each other, but they're not merged. And this causes issues with getting holes and some broken stuff on the model. So we need to go ahead and fix that. Alright, so let's go ahead and go into wireframe mode. Let's go ahead and select the teeth right here. Do Control L, and once again we have to make sure we select multiple vertices in order to select the entire upper teeth, and then we have to go and merge the vertices by distance. That way it should get rid of the doubles and the overlapping vertices. So that's pretty much it, and you could do this for the tongue like that, and then do it for the bottom teeth here, and then for the mouth and eyes, typically for the mouth, especially because it's closed, there is a gap, but sometimes there might be some issues that might happen. So just to prevent some issues, I tend to go into a blend shape where the mouth is open, and I would merge it from there. It should be fine. There should not be any issues if you do this. However, if you move vertices around, then it can be an issue. So make sure you do Control L by selecting multiple vertices and making it so that way you can get all those vertices that needs merging. So for Vroid models, I tend to just only select the face mesh, eye sockets, and inner mouth like this. I don't really select the eyelashes or the eyebrows because they don't really need merging. Even though the eyelashes are plain meshes and they do fit pretty well with the eyes, they won't really merge perfectly, and there can be some possible issues if you merge them, so do not touch them. So go ahead and merge it by distance, and we can go back to bases and everything should be fine, right? Well, the thing to keep in mind is that when you merge vertices, there tends to be this weird shadow looking issue. Now, how does this happen? Well, basically, when you're merging vertices, your normals, your geometry normals, basically the direction of the faces, which these little guys are called faces here, they have been kind of, interrupted. So what we have to do is we gotta go and reset those normals. So we go to Mesh, Normals, and then we go Reset Vectors, and there you go. Everything should be good on your model. So if by any chance your model has custom normals, whether you are a boost model and your face looks really smooth, like you don't have the bumpiness looking here, like you have a boost model and it comes with like a very smooth looking face, or if you manually edited the normals yourself, whether you follow my tutorial on anime normals or other stuff like that, basically when you do the reset vectors, you will lose those edited normals. So please make sure that you have some sort of duplicate of the original face and use the the data transfer modifier here to basically get those normals back. You can just go to data transfer, click on face corner data, and then custom normals, and you can be able to copy it just like that if you have those custom normals. But if you do not, or if there's some issues, you might have to remake those normals again. And like I said, I have a tutorial about that. You can definitely check it out on my channel. But now that we did fix our doubles issue, now we can go ahead and continue on with our blend shapes. So now that we fixed that, we have to go ahead and basically create the rest of it. So what we're going to do, since the Vroid model does not have extra blend shapes for us to complete the rest of it, we'll have to go and click on the plus button here. And do keep in mind right now, we are going to still have to modify these blend shapes, especially to add some chin movement, make this mouth bigger, and basically modifying all the other blend shapes here. These are usually fine, but you can also modify those, but I'm going to be modifying the jaw and the mouth funnel. But what we have to do though, before we get into that, we have to go and add some blend shapes. So click on the plus button right here on the right side of your screen and click it a couple times. Usually I just click it until it's like about basically kind of like when I feel like it, but pretty much just a couple clicks. And then what you'll have to do is you're going to have to go and name these. So on the polywink model or on the or in the description, you're going to either, if you have downloaded the list for the iPhone Blendshape, or you copy and paste them, or you're using the polywink model as reference, you're going to have to go ahead and you're going to go ahead and name them just like this. Now there is no Vertex data on them yet. We will get into that, don't worry. But the first thing we have to do is we have to manually name all of this. So it is going to be tedious. It's not really it's not going to really be the best moment, but don't worry. But this is what you have to do manually though. But what I'm going to do, I'll name a couple of these and then I'm going to be right back. So that way, so I'll pause the video in just like a quick second, and then I'll just like basically do a shortcut. So that way the blend shape should already be done, so that way we don't make the video longer. So I will see you guys after I basically add all the renamed blend shapes. And if by any chance you have any issues with this, like I said, feel free to private DM me on Discord. My Discord tag is Hana space Huiko #7158, and there you can private DM me if you want private tutor if you have any issues with naming blend shapes or anything like that. But other than that though, see you guys in a couple. Alright, so I went ahead and gave all the names to the blend shapes. They do not have Vertex data quite yet, but I will be going over how to add them per blend shape. So hopefully once I this is as a video editor note, hopefully there are sections on YouTube that should be able to show like which blend shape sections which, in case you want to skim through how each blend shape is made. But even then though, now that we have those named though, we're going to go quickly edit these two blend shapes, JawOpen and Mouth Funnel, and then we're going to go ahead and begin our way all the way down through all the 52 blend shapes of the iPhone blend shapes. So yeah. So what we're going to do first of all, for the JawOpen blend shape, what we will need to do, we will need to go ahead and hide the inner tongue and teeth. So we'll do Control L for the teeth and tongue, and we have to press the H key to hide it. We can bring the teeth and the tongue when we do the Alt H. So make sure that you press H and then Alt H later. So what we will need to do, we will need to sculpt the blend shapes. So we'll be using a sculpt brush, which Blender has. It's in the sculpt mode right here. And we're going to use this, which might sound complicated, but it's pretty easy. We'll be using this in order to create the blend shapes. The reason why I recommend using the sculpt brushes is because it makes the blend shape more smoother, and also especially if you have facial expression where you have the mouth open, you'll definitely really have to make sure that the vertices are stretched out and evenly, so that way the iPhone blend shapes can be, at least, it gets used to like any extra mouth opening blend shape. But even then, I highly recommend if you're doing any face emotes, do not have a mouth open expression on the iPhone blend shapes. It does not look good unless you do it right. So, let's go ahead and click on the thumbtack button right here. And we're going to go click on the grab brush. It looks just like this, the one highlight on the left side. I'm going to go ahead and select this button up here with the X. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and increase my radius a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and change the shape of the mouse. So I'm going to have it set like this. If by any chance you want a more anime looking mouse, definitely have it where the lip corners are basically upwards like this if you want a more anime looking mouse. I tend to have this on my older models, which is nice, but if you want a more dynamic looking mouse, something that looks a bit more natural and dynamic, there's a particular VTuber that makes iPhone blend shapes, and they do it in this style. I won't say their name, but they do it like this basically, where the lip corners are in the center, and basically the mouse will look like this basically. So you can have it set up like this if you want. It depends on your style, but most people tend to like it like this. So there's this here, and then you can go swap over with, I'm going to do Control Tab and Object Mode. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go, actually I got to unhide this, so make sure you unhide the teeth. But you can still see though, like how the mouth looks like. It looks different. And also, but yeah, so, and also, like I was gonna say, basically, as you can see here, while it does look nice, you can see how the teeth is kind of high up there. And usually if you want to look something more natural, you don't really have to put your tongue like that. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to select the bottom part of the teeth and tongue, do Control V, blend from shape, and we're going to have to move this down basically. So that way the tongue is more flatter and the teeth, so it actually looks more natural, as you can see right here. You can also, if you don't want the teeth to show a lot, you can also move the teeth higher up if you prefer it more hidden. Usually be careful, because sometimes there might be some issues. There might be some like weird issues if you do it improperly when mixing other blend shapes. So make sure you experiment. So yeah, so just to show you that. Now, just to also show you how to get that chin effect going on for the model, we have to go ahead and hide the teeth, tongue, and the teeth here. And we're gonna have to go to the we're gonna have to go into edit mode, which we are on already. We're gonna go ahead and select this bottom part of the jaw here, and we're gonna press on the O key, the O button, the letter O on our keyboard, and we're gonna basically it's gonna enable proportional. So I had this question quite a lot, where some people have said that when they press the O key and they move it around, it does this on their model. It's because by default, the proportional tool circle, the radius, is big. And VRM models are very, very small. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to decrease it. And we have to use our middle mouse button. So all you have to do when pressing O, press the G key. The G key, the letter G for grab, and then you're going to use your middle mouse and scroll upwards, and that way you can be able to have it where you can see the proportional radius right here, and just move it a little bit. Don't do too much, especially because there's no neck area on the Vroid model here. So just move it down a little bit. You don't need to have it too much. And then you can always refine it with the sculpt brush. So I'll go into the smooth brush here, and I will decrease the strength, because usually on the smooth brush, I tend to have it where it's lower. And I would just kind of like smooth it here, basically. So that way it just looks better. You can also smooth these sides right here as well. So yeah. And also, If you want to make sure that your vertices are doing well, make sure you click on this button up here where my mouse is and click on wireframe so you can see how your wireframe looks like, and make sure everything looks very smooth. Just like this basically, and smooth this out as well. So there you go. And let's go ahead, since I did change up the shape a little bit, let me go ahead and kind of like do a little edit here. And there you go. So now we can disable the wireframe here. And it can look something like this. If you feel like something's odd, feel free to go ahead and fix it and adjust it to your own taste. But other than that though, that's pretty much what the jaw Blendshape would look like, at least how my model would look like, or at least how I have it. And there's a chin movement. I don't make the chin move too much, but I make it move just the right amount. Alright, so now that we have JawOpen made, now we have to go and make the mouth funnel. So the mouth funnel looks like this, but now we have to basically enhance it a little more. So I'm gonna go ahead and unhide the inner mouth, and what I'll do is I'll select the teeth and tongue, Control V, blend from shape, and then I'm gonna go ahead and move it so that way it looks more natural. Then I'm also gonna move this as well because it looks a little weird. I'll go ahead and kind of edit it. Usually for mouth funnels, some people tend to have it where the teeth are together, and some people have it where the teeth are separated. Usually I have mine where it's set to the teeth being separated, in case you're wondering. So yeah. And also, by the way, as a heads up as well, in case you're wondering about the teeth issue, because I know for a fact some people have stated that when it comes to iPhone, there's this issue where basically, you know, your lower teeth is visible, which can be an annoyance for some people. But my recommendation, if you want to prevent that, you know, basically your lower teeth from showing whenever you talk, I would recommend making it so that way your inner mouth is bigger, so that way there's at least more room for the teeth to go down, so that way it doesn't look awkward. So that's my recommendation. But I won't be doing that for this model though. But if you want to prevent the lower teeth from popping out when doing the iPhone tracking, then make sure to make the inside mouth bigger. So yeah. But now what we'll have to do, we will have to go ahead and go into the sculpt mode, and we're going to go ahead and kind of slightly edit it. The shape is already fine. I just want to make it a little more rounder, so it looks a little nice basically. And then we'll go into edit mode, and we're going to add some chin movement by selecting the bottom part of the mouse like this, and using the proportional tool edit with the O key and the G key, we just move it slightly down, and that's kind of it. And then we just go ahead and smooth it a little more, and we should be a-okay. It's pretty simple for the mouth funnel, which should be a-okay. So yeah, very, very simple. Let me just go ahead and get that one point there, and make sure that my wireframe is nice, because smooth wireframe is always good. So yeah, and then you can, once again, I might have to edit this a little more. Actually, I can move the teeth so it's a little lower, just a tad bit. But yeah, but pretty much that is the mouth funnel that I usually have it where my teeth is actually hidden, but once again, this really just depends on your style and what you do with it. So yeah, and there you go. Looks just like that. As for the blink blend shapes, they're fine with me. We will have to make the squint one, but like I said, if you want a more natural looking one, then just have it where the eye blink left is half lidded like this, and then the eye squint will basically just touch in the middle, just like a actual human eye. And as for the eye wide, once again, we already did that. It's pretty good. If you need to enhance it a little more, feel free, but try to make it so it's not too much, because sometimes if you make this a bit too dramatic, you might actually end up looking cuckoo. So be careful with this blend shape. And then the eyebrows down, I can have it where the eye muscle, I can have like a sort of eye muscle effect, but it's fine with me, so that's fine here. So yeah, but now let's go ahead and move on to the eye blend shapes. So basically for at least what I have here, usually typically with eye facial mocap, you don't really have to prepare the eyes. So usually, because iFacial mocap has the option of eye bone tracking, so usually the eyes would already be tracked with a bone, so they don't really need to have it where the blend shape eye can move around basically. But I personally prefer, especially even with VC face as well, I tend to have it where the eye itself would move with a blend shape. So that's what I will do for this case. So yeah. But what we'll have to do, we're gonna go select this eye here. So I look down left. We're gonna take the left eye and we're gonna make it look down like this. And we also gotta make sure it is moving a little back to prevent some clipping. So just like that. And we're basically just going to move the eye, and then what we'll do after we finish moving the eyes, we will then work on the muscle, because like I said, the muscle effect, if you add some muscles, it looks really nice on your model, and it can actually not only make a more dynamic look on the model, but also can make it look very accurate. So that is something to keep in mind about. I tend to add an eye muscle effect on my own models. So that is something that I really love to add with models, the eye muscle. But yeah. I will say also, the reason why I'm moving the eye like this and I'm not using any rotation at all like this, in case you're wondering, the reason why I'm doing this is because the thing is that with the eye wide blend shape, we have it where the eyes dilate. And if I have it where the eyes would rotate, you know, if the eye were to basically rotate and move around a lot, it tends to actually make it look where the eye looks very deformed basically. Also, I look in, so I accidentally put that in the wrong thing. So I look in, and then I look out, and then this one is I look up. There you go. So basically, there you go. I look in, where the eye is going towards the nose area. I'll probably move this a little less, like that. I look in, I look out for the left eye, and then I look up right there, and then down, just like that. And then we'll have to repeat the same exact steps on the other eye, except on the right side. So eye in right, like that. And then out, which I'll do this here. Very simple. So there you go. Edit. And then eye up. Just like that. There you go. So there you go. At least you have the basic eyes, but now we're gonna go ahead and add the eye muscles. So we're gonna go ahead and hide the eyes now, and I'm also gonna hide the eyebrows just so they don't get affected. And what I'll do, I'm gonna go into sculpt mode right here, and then I'm gonna go and press the thumbtack, and then I'm gonna go ahead to each individual blend shape. So I look down left. So here, typically whenever I make an eye muscle movement for the eye down blend shapes, I tend to have it where the upper eyelid would kind of look flatter, because every time you look down, your eyelid actually tends to cover more of your eye, by the way. That's a fun fact, by the way. So just keep that in mind. So there's that. I also have it sometime where the eye can go down like this, or can kind of go a little upper. Just have it where like it gives off that sort of effect like real life. And if you need a reference, you can always look at yourself in the mirror and like kind of see how your eyes move around. Or there's also some video references on the internet that shows eye muscle movement. So that can really be very useful to seeing how the eye muscle should be like. So there you go. And then EyeLeft. Typically you don't add eye muscles for the in and out blend shape, but I tend to do that myself just for fun. But I try not to add too much though, because usually too much can look a little weird, but just enough. And then for the out, I tend to go at this angle, and I just kind of pull the eye outward like this. Very, very simple. Like that. It's nothing too much, just a little light detail. And then for the eyes up, whenever you look up, your eyelid tends to go a little upward, but try not to do it too much because keep in mind you have the eye wide blend shape that also gets combined, but you just want to add just a little bit so that way it, you know, it's at least a little bit recognizable, just a little extra note. So yeah, just like that. And then we can go back to object mode and we can take a look and see that there is eye muscle, which looks really nice. See? And that can create a much more dynamic look, so that's really nice. So yeah, and also I think I forgot to make an eye down movement for this eye, so let's go ahead and make that right there. And there you go, just like that. Perfect, perfect. So now that we have that though, now we're gonna go ahead and make the EyeSquint blend shapes. This is basically our lower eyelid. As I said before, when it comes to the a more realistic eye blinking setup, you'll have to really increase the eye squint. But if you have a Vroid model and you have the simple blinking, just what I just did right now, you want to make it where the eye squint isn't too much, but you want to make it just enough where in case if you like, especially with fast blinking, because on the iPhone when the tracking is happening, if you blink very fast, usually it's the iPhone may not be able to catch up with the blinking. Therefore, it might cause an issue where your character's eyes are not 100% fully blinking. So you want to make sure that this is done properly. So I'm going to go ahead and do the thumbtack, eye squint left. We're going to go to the left eye and we're going to have it where we're going to pick it up with just a grab brush. You can go ahead and pick it up on the different side if you want, but usually the front side is fine with me. So I tend to like pick it up, but I'm not doing too much once again, but just enough. And if by chance you want to make sure that you're doing it right, what you can do is you can actually go ahead and kind of like basically combine the blend shapes and see if it works well. You can also click on the second button that's right next to the thumbtack, so that way you can actually edit both blend shapes, especially in edit mode. You can always manually edit both of the blend shapes active. But do keep in mind, all the edits that you do are within what you are basically, so actually, for example, just to explain this without overcomplicating it, we have the eye blink and then we have the eye squint here, and then we enable that. If I were to make any edits here, or basically any edits here like this, all those edits are within the eye squint that I selected, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead though, I'm just gonna like lower the eye squint a bit more, since it does look like it was clipping earlier, so I'll just go ahead and decrease that there. Just a little fix up it, very, very simple. So yeah. And we'll check again. That still looks good. I mean, there still is some clipping. Usually the squint, it might be trial and error, and sometimes you might also want to pull the you might also want to pull a little back as well, just to make sure it doesn't do a lot of clipping, but also keep in mind of your wireframe to make it so that way it's not weird looking. Gotta make sure everything's all done right. So yeah. There you go, see, there's less clipping right now. Like that. Like I said, it's very subtle with these squints, especially with the setup I have it as, so yeah. There you go, that's a lot better. So, there you go. But yeah, and it's also kind of clipping with the eye though, but pretty much it is trial and error though, but yeah. So I would probably have to go ahead and kind of slightly have it half lidded like this then, and then increase it. So yeah, so I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna quickly jump cut so that way it gets to the part where I actually quickly fix this so I can show you how everything will look. Alright, so I went ahead and I quickly had to slightly remake the blinking so that way it's slightly half lit like this, especially with just how the eyes are made, the eyelashes. I had to kind of make them slightly half-lidded like that, and I went ahead and added the squint, so that way it should fully close like this. So I should be able to go here, and let's see here, go to squint, and there you go. Fully closed eyes, just like that. Another thing as well, actually, if by any chance you don't want to make that particular blend shape, let's say you don't want to make the iSquint Blendshapes, you are free to actually not do all 52 ARKit Blendshapes, by the way, just letting you know. Mainly since, well, just the way that Apple has made their blend shape setup, you can have it where it could be just 32 blend shapes and you should be perfectly fine, especially if you're trying to get a more stylistic look on your model. I'm still going to show how to make all 52 of them, but if you prefer to use less than 52, that is your choice and that's perfectly fine. So yeah, now that we actually finish all the eye stuff, we're gonna now move on to the jaw blend shape, which tends to be quite tricky, because like I said, this is the part that clips the most out of the models. Typically the eyes, they would work perfectly fine usually, unless something happens, such as half-lidded stuff on the eyes. But when it comes to the mouth, that tends to be the most painful part ever. So I'm gonna show you how to prep up the jaw forward. So the jaw forward, my recommendation, by the way, if your model is trying to be more anime styled, do not make this blend shape, because it'll actually make your model's mouth look awkward. So I typically still add it, but if your model is aimed towards a more 2D looking model, don't add this blend shape. I'm telling you right now. So I'm gonna go ahead, for now, I'm gonna go ahead and hide the teeth, and I'm gonna just focus on the lips, and then we're gonna get back to the inner teeth later. So I'm gonna go ahead and select, I'm gonna zoom into the vertices here, and we're going to go ahead and select the vertices that we need for the lower jaw, which this is basically our lower jaw area right here. It should look just like this. You might also want to add some selections as well to make sure nothing looks very odd. Right here and here. And once you have that selected, you'll have to basically move the jaw forward. Now, you're probably thinking, that does not look correct. This looks terrible. Well, do keep in mind, we have the sculpt brushes in our hands. So we will move this forward, but we have to also use the sculpt brushes to make it smoother. So go ahead into sculpt mode, and now you can use the smooth brush, but if you, by any chance you need something like the draw brush to basically do some like slight, you know, basically inflating some of the vertices, you could also do shift select, so that way you can click and drag and have the smooth brush there. That's a little shortcut. That's a shortcut for the smooth brush, by the way, the shift button. So yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and smooth out the jaw here. That way it doesn't look so weird. That way it can look much more natural. And make sure you toggle from solid mode to color mode, just so that way you can make sure that, you know, what you see in color is correct, but also you want to make sure that there is no weird bumps going on. If your model is low poly, like if you have the Vroid beta models, it is fine if there are some bumps, since the model is low poly. But you can always refine this though. It takes some time. So yeah. But overall, that's kind of it on how this looks like. And we'll worry about the inner teeth later. As I said, we will have to move the teeth for that. And then we're going to go ahead and make the jaw left blend shape. So it'll look something like this. So we'll just move it to the left, like that. And once again, you're going to go ahead, either with the thumbtack or just setting the blend shape value to number 1. You're going to go ahead and also disable mirror mode. You're going to go ahead and smooth out the blend shapes here. So that way it can look really, really nice. All right. So yeah, there you go. Smooth, smooth, smooth. Like I said, it's trial and error, but you'll get the hang of it. So yeah, now that, just making sure everything looks good here. Now that we have that, now we can quickly make the right side. So, same procedure as before. Smoothing out the right side. Just like that. Just like that. There you go. Smooth it out, and there you go. Basically, just like that. Also slightly smooth this out, but try to be careful. You don't want to cause any weird stuff with the lip corner, so take very good care of it. But yeah, and also I will go ahead and fix the bottom part as well, and checking the other blend shapes to make sure that they are good as well. So yeah, just like this. So now that we have that, now the next blend shape that we can make is the mouth closed blend shape. Now, the thing with the mouth closed blend shape, which many people tend to assume that for mouth closed, all you have to do is select this and do this. This is actually incorrect for iPhone blend shapes. Some people tend to assume this, but this is actually incorrect. The mouth closed blend shape, this is not properly explained in the iPhone web, the ARKit Blendshapes website, the Apple developer website basically. I mean, they explain it, but they don't explain how it exactly looks like, because typically this blend shape is the weirdest looking one of all, because it's supposed to basically mix with the jaw blend shape. So think of yourself when you're chewing food, right? Where you have food in your mouth is closed, and you're basically chewing with your mouth closed, basically. That's what the purpose of mouth closed is supposed to be like. So how do we make this blend shape? Well, what we have to do is a very weird setup. It's weird, but trust me. What we'll have to do, we're going to go into the JawOpen blend shape, and we're going to put this as a value of 1. Then what you're going to do, you're going to go ahead, and I'm going to disable wireframe. You're going to go into the new shape from mix, and you're going to duplicate the JawOpen blend shape. Once you have that, then you're going to go down here, and you're going to set the range minimum to -1. And you're going to set the slider to a -1 value. And as I said, this looks ridiculous, but this is actually correct. This is how mouth close is, because watch this. Well, actually, let's finish this up. So once you have the blend shape here, go here, and then click on new shape from mix. And there you go, that is your mouth closed blend shape. So I'm going to go ahead and move it up for just a second. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this one and then rename it. So the purpose is that when you have jaw open, and you close your lips while your jaw is open, it's supposed to mix them together like this. See? How the jaw, basically the mouth close is just the inverse of jaw open, basically. Now, while this is the correct way, there is also an extra way on making it more dynamic and dramatic. This is something I did not explain in my previous tutorial, so I'm going to go ahead and explain it now. So, by default, I have it where the teeth are not showing, so that should be good. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into sculpt mode, and you're going to make sure that the thumbtack is disabled, and make sure to have it where the jaw open is at 1 and the mouth close is at value 1. Make sure that you select mouth close, and what you're going to do, you're going to select the grab brush. Make sure that you mirror your sculpting with the X key up there. You're going to have it where your lip corners are slightly down, like this. Just slightly down. And you're going to use the sculpt brush here. And what you're going to do is you're going to go under the chin, and you're going to slightly have it where basically your chin is going down, like this. And then you're going to take the grab brush again, and you're going to move the mouth downward. This is a more dramatic way of doing the mouth close. So, like this, basically. See? You can make it even more dramatic if you really want to, like this, if you want. But I don't really prefer having it look like this, because it might actually be a bit clippy. So I tend to have it where the lips are slightly lowered, because the mouth close does get mixed with the frown blend shape, so keep that in mind. But that's pretty much the mouth close and how it's supposed to act and look like. So by default, will look something like this, but this is correct and weird. You cannot really make this by hand. You'll have to make this with doing the inverse way I just showed you. So yeah. So now mouth pucker. So what we'll have to do is pretty simple. This is mainly with the proportional tool edit. So make sure you have the O key enabled, which you can tell on the top part of your screen that proportional tool is enabled. You're going to go ahead and select the lip area with the circle tool. I press the C key for circle tool. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have it while zooming in with your mouse. You're going to scale with S, press the S key for scaling, and press the X key for the axis. And you're going to have it where your lips are narrow. And then go to the side of your model with Control 3 if you have a numpad, or View, and then Viewport if you don't have a numpad. And then have it where your lips are scaled outward like this. Just move it outward like this. And then to make the lips more smoother, go ahead and just select the outer part of the lips. Disable proportional tool edit, and basically just move this backwards. Try not to do it too much though, but yeah. And then go ahead and kind of go and just refine. You can actually do more edits with this if you prefer to have it a little bit more realistic, but this is pretty much just how it looks like. Literally this in a nutshell. So yeah. You can also use sculpt brushes as well to help kind of smooth things out, so that way it doesn't look really weird, but can look more natural. So make sure you also check your wireframe as well, just to make sure that nothing looks weird. So yeah. And that is the mouth pucker. Now the mouth left. There's actually two styles that you can use. My personal style is where I take the mouse like this, and I use a proportional tool edit. And I have it where I move it to the side like this. This is my method, mainly because I was trying to get a more anime looking feel for the mouse shifting. But sometimes, if you're going for a more realistic approach on this, typically they have it where you use the grab brush. You can move it, which I gotta make sure the value of 1 is on. They have it where basically this side will move here, and they'll just like stretch like this basically. Just kind of like having that squish effect. It still kind of goes on the side a bit, but it just kind of just squishes on the other side. So this is a more realistic approach kind of, which can take some time to make it, but for me, I prefer to use my own method. For my own personal models, especially since I see some live 2D models doing this, I have it where the chin and the lips would get selected, and I have it where basically the chin would follow along with the lip shifting, which is another fun way I have it. Like I said, I saw this with live 2D models. They do this a lot. But like I said, if you don't prefer this, if it looks weird, then you can always just use the other styles. It's really just up to you and your style preference. It depends on if you're going for a toon style or realistic. It really depends, but it still looks pretty nice though. So I'm really happy with it. And I can go ahead and also move the nose a bit so it actually looks also more natural since the muscles are being moved around. So make sure that you remember that the nose also moves around. So yeah. So there you go. But this is my own style. My style might differ from yours, so it really just depends, but that's just for me. And once again, also, I am aware about the T stuff. Once again, we will take care of that later. Don't worry. So yeah. But now what we're going to do, we are going to move on to the smile blend shapes. So we're going to enable both of them. So both smile blend shapes should be set to a value of 1. And I'm going to use the sculpt mode. You can use proportional edit if you prefer, but I'm going to use the sculpt brushes. And for the smile left, I'm going to make it where the left side of the character's mouth would be turning into a smile. And then the right side also turns into a smile, like this. That way you can be sure on how it can properly smile. So everything should be a-okay. Just like this. And it can probably take a couple of tweaking, since you don't want to make the smile too big. Especially if you're trying to go for something more natural, avoid having a very big smile. It can actually look really bad. Try to go for something much more natural looking. Once again, you can also look at the color of your model just to make sure you're doing everything right. So yeah. So there you go. Just like that. There you go. And make sure also smooth out some of the vertices as well, just to prevent some any future clipping issues, basically. So yeah, there you go. So now that you have that, and once again, just fix those extra stuff there, right there. As we can see here, it looks pretty nice. If you prefer to make it 100% more symmetrical, Blender does have the option. Now, for VRM models, typically, VRM models might struggle to do the perfect mirroring with the blend shapes. If your model is made from scratch, you can take advantage of Blender's mirror option. So all you have to do, if you want to have it perfectly mirrored, you'll have to select your blend shape, and you'll have to basically mirror shape key. But typically for Vroid models, they can't really have it, especially because right here they have an offset and they're not perfectly mirrored. Unless you were to basically remake it where it is mirrored, it won't perfectly it won't perfectly like mirror onto each other. So keep that in mind, by the way. If you want a more perfect setup, which can be tedious, it just depends. But for me, I prefer to just do it manually. For the frown blend shapes, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's the frowning. Make sure you have both blend shapes on. Frown left and right. Make sure you have it where the lips will start curving. Make sure not to do it too much, by the way, because keep in mind you have the mouth closed, which may also have clipping issues with the frown blend shape if you're not careful enough. So please be careful with that. All right. But pretty much, go ahead and just curve it around and make it look very good. So yeah. And once we have that, there's a decent frown. I'll also slightly lower the other side so it looks a little bit more even. Just like that. And there you go. Simple as that. And then for the dimples, basically you'll have to take the lip corners of your mouth, and you have to use a proportional tool edit, and you scale it downward, and you can basically just have it like this. That is basically a dimple. Try not to make it too much because it might cause some clipping issues with your teeth, so be very careful on that. So I'll go ahead here. Right side. Here. Just like that. So just something very simple. Dimples are hardly noticeable, but it's great for extra details. Especially if you're a realistic model, this can also be a great advantage. Now, the stretch blend shapes. Typically, I tend to mix it with the JawOpen. So I'll have my JawOpen blend shape right here. And then I'm going to go into the stretch left and right. Go into the sculpt brush. And then I'm going to enable these two. And what I do is I'm going to go at an angle. And for the left side, I'll just kind of like tug on the mouse like this a bit. And then do the same thing on the right side, just a little bit. And make sure to like fine tune it so that way it looks nicer. But it's mainly just stretching the lip corners. It's hardly noticeable in iPhone, but usually when you open your mouth super big, you might notice it. So yeah, just like that. And by default, they tend to have it where the lips are. Usually, most people tend to have it where by default they'll have it where it's like kind of like almost a frown, like a second frown lip basically. but that's just how I personally do it for my models. But if you prefer to have it where you make it more like a frown mouth, like the Polywink model, then that is your choice. It really depends. Now, we're gonna get into the more trickier parts, because these blend shapes here, the roll blend shapes and the shrugs, they tend to be the difficult stuff. So bear with me, because this is a danger zone. So, the roll blend shapes, basically, think of yourself putting lipstick, and you have to rub your lips together. That's basically what the roll blend shapes are. They basically just overlapping your lips together. Mwah, like that. So, for the lower blend shape, roll lower, you're going to select the lower lip, and you're going to select this, and what you'll have to do, at first, you are going to basically have it where you're going to roll the lip, basically rotating it, and then moving it upward, basically. And then you'll have to use the sculpt brushes to kind of help smooth it out. Usually, whenever I work with Vroid beta models on this, it tends to sometimes have some clipping issues, but that can be easily be fixed when using live testing with iFacial mocap on Blender. So you should be okay, so don't worry. So I'll go ahead and smooth this out. I will go ahead and also adjust it as well, so that way I can edit some things here. So, alright, edit. Try also not to touch the upper lip too much, because keep in mind they can also combine. So you want to be extra careful with any blend shapes. So yeah, like that, and just fine tune it, and then I can move it around. Just have it where it's like smoother, basically. Sometimes it might look weird. Usually on the tracking, I tend to fix all of the issues, so don't worry. And then I'll go ahead and reset this one, and there you go. Something simple. Like I said, the downside is a bit of it being low poly, but also it does need a lot of time with like fixing it up. So yeah, there you go. So something like this is acceptable, but definitely trial and error, it'll really help you. Like that. And for the roll upper blend shape, we will have to go and select the upper part of the lips, right here. And we will have to go ahead. Usually I tend to like flatten it out, and then I roll it this way, and I kind of like bring it down. And then I use the sculpt brush to go ahead and have it where basically the everything will get smoothed out, because this looks like a mess. So we gotta fix that. So yeah, but it should be fine. Like I said, live testing mode will definitely will show you where the issues are. So don't worry, and I'll show you later on. Or if you skip through the video, you'll probably see where the iFacial mocap testing live stuff are. So yeah. But there you go. There's the upper. I do have to be careful with smoothing out the lower lips though, but this should still be pretty good. It should still be fine. So yeah. There you go. Like that. Something very simple. There you go. Stretch it. There you go. So yeah, now for the shrug blend shape, which tends to be also super tricky and might cause some potential issues. Typically, if by any chance your iPhone blend shapes have this issue where your mouth isn't 100% closing, it's probably because of these two little blend shapes here. So, so for basically the shrug upper, I tend to lift the lip upward like this. And I go ahead and select these guys, and I move it upper as well, just selecting it manually, especially because this model is low poly, so I have more control of it. But if it's higher poly, then you can use sculpt brushes to your advantage. Now for the upper shrug, I go ahead and smooth out the corners here, so that way it doesn't look really awkward. But do be careful though on smoothing it out. And do take your time as well on this, so that way it won't have to look too weird. So yeah. But it should have a more rounder result, in case you're wondering. So do keep that in mind. Alright, So now that we have that, basically it should look like this, basically. Something like that. Something rounder on the top so it doesn't look really awkward, especially when you, like, if you're bringing like an angry face or a disgusted face where your upper lip would just shrug up and your teeth are showing. That's basically like kind of like that disgusted look, basically. That's where the shrug is used. For the lower shrug, if you are squishing your lips upward, like, let's say you're like kind of like irritated and you have your lips upward, and you're kind of like, that sort of attitude, basically. The shrug lower can really help out with achieving that. So if that's the best I can explain it. So you have to go ahead and select the lower lip blend shapes, and you'll have to basically move it upward. Now, the thing about this is that the question is, how do you get it so that way it is in the correct place? Because the shrug upper and lower do work together. So how do you make sure that the lower shrug works with the upper? Like I said, there is the technique of having it with the this little option next to the thumbtack, shape key edit mode. So that way you can see the other shape keys. So make sure that you enable both of them as ones right here, because I had the thumbtack on. And basically there you can see where the shrug is, and you can definitely do your manual editing and corrections as well, especially with some clipping issues that can pop up sometimes. And also, gotta make sure that this is on the right blend shape. So move that upward. So now we have to go and smooth this out, so that way it doesn't look awkward. And like I said, sometimes when you're smoothing out your blend shapes, when the vertices with the smooth brush, sometimes it might cause the vertices to scatter like this. Just make sure that you manually edit it so it looks right, because that tends to be a thing with the sculpt brushes. It's just something natural, so please make sure to correct it. So yeah, and like I said, take your time on this, because sometimes it can take hours to do the blend shape, and sometimes there might be some issues. So make sure that this is done right, like this. Now, there might still be some clipping issues during the tracking, which we can always fix, but this is the general idea of how it's made. So there you go, like that. Now, the next thing that we have to do is we have to create the press blend shapes. Basically, this is just, this is like I said before with the mouth shrug, when you're moving your lips upward, the press blend shapes are useful for that. At least according to the Polywink model, they have it set up like this. You can also have it set where the lips can just press on each other as well. But like I said, it really depends on what you want, how you want the blend shape to look like. But for my case, I tend to have it where it looks like this, and then I have the right side and I do it like this. Just like that. This is how I have mine. And definitely make sure to edit the lips so that way it doesn't look really weird. So yeah. Just like that. We'll go ahead and pull this one up and we should be good to go. This is pretty simple. So yeah. And now that we have that, which is good, now we have to go into the lip blend shapes. There are 4 extra lip blend shapes, and these guys right here, these are the primary blend shapes as well that helps create that dynamic look on the model. So in case you're wondering the question, how do you make your mouth look bigger during the tracking? These 4 blend shapes are the reason. So let me show you how do you properly make them. In my last tutorial, I told you guys that you had to basically manually go into the lips right here, and after selecting the lips, you had to basically pull it up and smooth it out. Well, that's actually the incorrect way of doing that, and it's actually it's just really messy with that method. The way I do it now is actually much more smoother. So what you have to do is have it where the JawOpen blend shape is active. And also, I do have it where the stretch blend shapes are active as well, since they do get combined also. So make sure you have them active just to make sure you're doing it right, and nothing looks very awkward. Make sure that your model is also in sculpt mode as well. And also, I'm going to quickly correct this part of the mouth because it looks a little bit wide. And what you're going to do is you're going to set all the 4 lip blend shapes. Lower down left, lower down right, upper up left, and upper up right. You're going to set these 4 blend shapes to a value of 1. And we're going to start off with upper up left. Upper up left is basically where you take this part of the mouth and you move it upward like this. Then upper up right, you basically take this part of this corner of the mouth and move it upward like this. You can make it as big as you want, but I'm not going to make it too big because then it'll look really unnatural, but make sure to use this very well. And then lower down left basically is where you take this section, this region of the mouth, and make it lower. Make sure to also use a sculpt brush to smooth stuff out with a smooth brush. And then lower down right is basically where you take this part of the mouth and you move it down. And make sure you smooth brush and basically just refine from there. So that way it looks really nice. And these are the blend shapes that causes your mouth to become very big. So if you want a more dramatic mouth effect, then make sure that you make these lip blend shapes dynamic as well. But do keep in mind, try not to make it too dramatic because it can actually make it look pretty awkward. So make sure to be very careful with it. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and fix the right here, and then I'm going to fix this part. But you do get the general idea. I also got to make sure to check the color, so that way I can make sure that the shape does look correct. So yeah, there we go. Just like this. So now that we have like this, and like I said, it could be in your own style. If you prefer to have it where the upper part is curved, feel free to do it curved style if you want, whichever. But this is usually how I have it. Like I said, it can also look asymmetrical. Once again, you could use the mirror key, the shape key option in Blender, so that way if you want it to be even more like extra perfect, then you can have that, you can use that to your advantage. But as I said, usually with VRM models, it tends to be a bit of a hassle, so make sure that you're careful with it, but it's not impossible. So yeah, so there you go. Should look like this. Usually it's the wider that your mouse is, the bigger it gets. So yeah. So now that is set up, we are almost done actually, so that's really, really great. So what we need to do, now that we have this, we need to make the last eyebrow blend shapes, and then we make the extra stuff here, which is the muscle sort of movement, such as your nose scrunch effect, your cheek squint, and the cheek puff, which everybody loves, and also the tongue, because iPhones do have tongue tracking, but they don't have tongue tracking like the Vive lip tracker. And just as a side note, if you're the type of person that loves to show off their tongue a lot and you want more movement, highly recommend you buy a Vive lip tracker. It does not, from what I heard, it doesn't work standalone. It has to use a VR system. But either way, I might be wrong on that. I don't know. I do not own a Vive lip tracker. But if you want more lip, more tongue action, tongue movement, definitely invest in the Vive lip tracker because they have that. So yeah, but what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna go ahead and select the eyebrows here, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm gonna press the P button and press selection, because I'm gonna go ahead and separate them, so that way I can focus on these blend shapes. And I'll merge it back to the model, don't worry. And what we'll have to do, we're gonna select this part of the eyebrow, and I'm going to use a proportional tool edit by pressing the O key, and we're going to move it upward. This is how our inner up eyebrows look like. This is how they look like. Make sure to move them forward so it doesn't clip with the head. And that's how they look like, just like that. And then we have the outer up eyebrow blend shape as well, which also gets combined with the upper blend shape. I typically don't really do the shape key edit option. I tend to just do this manually here, and then I just fine tune it. It just really depends on your workflow, but pretty much I'm able to, pretty much this is, I can show you. I'll quickly do this, add the value, and then I have the upper up, and it should look like this. And I can make this lower as well, because it looks a bit awkward, so I can make it lower. So it looks something like this. So if you're really shocked or like, whoa, the eyebrows will do that. So there you go. And now we gotta do the cheek puff. So for cheek puff, I make sure that the inner mouth is hidden, which I had it hidden the entire time, because that's the last thing I'm going to fix up. I'm gonna go ahead and hide the eyes, and I don't have to hide the eyebrows, but just to be safe, I'll hide the eyebrows. And what we'll have to do, we're gonna go into sculpt mode for the cheek puff, and what we're going to do is we're gonna make sure that mirror mode is on, and we're going to use the draw brush to actually puff out our cheek. So make sure the value is 1 on cheek puff, and cheek puff away. Try not to make it too big though. But even then though, when it comes to iPhone, they typically have it where the cheek puff is not very expressive. So if by any chance you want to make your cheek puff even more expressive, you can actually go into iFacial mocap and enhance the weight of the Blendshape, which there is a section in this tutorial that will show you in real life how and where to find settings, and basically just setting that up, so in case you're curious. You are free to make it as big as you want, but like try not to make it too big, because then it'll look really unnatural. But this is pretty much good enough, like this. So yeah, now we have to do the cheek squint. So the cheek squint, basically think of yourself like when you're really happy and your cheek kind of like goes upward of happiness, basically. That's what the cheek squint is. So basically, what I do is I would, for the left side, I would pick up the lip like this, just a little bit. I make sure to also have wireframe mode as well, because I tend to have it where the cheek muscle here would go upward like this, and then I would kind of slightly, not too much, but slightly kind of like increase the lower eyelid. Do be careful not to make it too big depending on your style preference and how you made the blend shapes. But make sure that it's enough so that way it's noticeable when you're really happy. So yeah. And also, especially if you blink, this also can get combined when you're kind of like blinking. Because, you know, cheek squint, when we blink, our cheek muscle will go upward. So there is that to keep in mind of. And then on the right side, we do the exact same thing of pulling the lip upward, moving the cheeks upward, the muscle, and then we would have to slightly increase the lower eyelid, like this. Basically that. Very simple, simple. It's kind of like a smile here, so that's really nice, but yeah. And once we have that, the nose sneer, on Hana tool blend shapes, for some reason, I don't know why they do this, they have it where the eyebrow here goes down, which is really weird. The correct way of actually doing the sneer blend shape is basically, first of all, making sure that the blend shape is active. You basically have to take your nose like this and just move it upward with the grab brush. Just that. And then same thing with the right side, move it upward. It's basically like, I call it like a nose sniffer sometimes. As a joke, but you know, that's basically what it does. So yeah, and I also gotta make sure to smooth it as well, that way it doesn't look really awkward. But yeah, just like that. It's very simple, nothing too crazy about it. Unless you have like a more realistic nose, then yeah, you might want to be careful on it. But usually for anime noses, it's pretty simple, so you can just like grab it and boom. And they are combined together. So yeah, see, like that. And then finally, the good stuff, the tongue blend shape. And this is where we're gonna start bringing back our inner mouth, because we gotta do some final stuff with our inner mouth stuff. So yeehaw. So now we're gonna select our tongue. I typically have it where the back part of the tongue is not selected, just to keep things natural. But if you need to, especially if you have fangs on your model, you'll probably have to make the tongue move upward. But this model does not have fangs, so this should be fine. You'll just have to basically stretch the tongue like this. I would stretch it here, so the vertices are more spread out. And this is basically how I have it. Do not move the lips in any way, unless it's absolutely mandatory, then sure, move the lips, but this is literally it. Just that. If you prefer more, let's say you don't want to just stick your tongue, you want it more dramatic, you can have it where it can be angled this way, and you can have it where this is like this. Basically have that like outer tongue, like when you stick your tongue out and your tongue is like more closer to your lips or your lower chin area, basically your chin. You can have it where it can look something like this though. I'm just giving an example. I'll still keep it as the way I just had before, but you can have it like this basically. This is what I do with my own models though. The problem with this is that it tends to cause some clipping issues, which you'll have to make sure to move the teeth downward. If you do something like this style, you'll have to move it downward like this. And you might also want to increase you might actually want to move a bit of the lip just to prevent clipping. But I typically have it where the tongue just sticks out just to prevent the tongue clipping. But sometimes I like to be a bit fun with it, so yeah. But there you go. That is the tongue blend shape. But before we are finished, we do need to add the teeth movement when it comes to the jaw blend shapes, and also a bit on the shrug. So let me show you. So we're gonna go back into jaw forward, and we're gonna go find our teeth and tongue, the lower teeth and tongue, and we're gonna basically move it forward for the jaw forward. And then for jaw left, we're going to move it to the left side of our model and make it align to the chin. Same thing with the jaw right. You're going to move it to the right side, like this. And when it comes to the shrug blend shapes, typically, it depends on your teeth type. If your model was made to have a very small teeth, like very, very thin teeth, you might want to have it where the teeth move upward, and I'm still going to do it for this model just to be safe. And then for the shrug lower, I tend to have it where the teeth would move upward like this. This can actually also help out with preventing tongue clipping for the lips when you are trying to move your mouth upward and then stick your tongue at the same time. But you have to do some trial and error with that. But this is kind of how I fix that issue, by the way, in case you're wondering. And also, if by any chance you have some weird stuff going on with the teeth and the mouth, you might also want to move some of the teeth here as well. Sometimes I'll have it where on the down lip blend shapes, I'll have it where it'll go down like basically, I'll move a tiny bit here on the left blend shape, and then on the right I move a little down here. But typically I don't do that. Sometimes I do. For my own model, I have that. But for most of my other, whenever I work with clients, I typically do not have that because usually everyone else's teeth work fine. So yeah. But yeah, other than that though, you don't need to mess with the cheek puff or anything like that. If by any chance there's any other refinements, if any, go ahead and make those refinements now. Check your blend shapes to make sure that they all look good. But just to review and recap, and just to check to see if there's any issues, this is the JawOpen, this is MouthFunnel, this is the EyeBlinkRight with the slight little lidded area for the eye squint, and then EyeBlinkLeft, EyeWideLeft, EyeWideRight, BrowDownLeft, BrowDownRight, EyeLookDownLeft, EyeLookDownRight, EyeLookInLeft, EyeLookInRight, EyeLookOutLeft, EyeLookOutRight, EyeLookUpLeft, EyeLookUpRight, EyeSquintLeft. It can be more than this, or it can be very little, your choice. EyeSquintRight, jaw forward, jaw left, jaw right, mouth close, pucker, the mouth pucker, MouthLeft, MouthRight, SmileLeft, MouthSmileRight, MouthFrownLeft, MouthFrownRight, MouthDimpleLeft, MouthDimpleRight, MouthStretchLeft, MouthStretchRight, MouthRollUpper, MouthRollUpper, MouthShrugLower, MouthShrugUpper, MouthPressLeft, MouthPressRight, MouthLowerDownLeft, MouthLowerDownRight, MouthUpperuPleft, MouthUpperuPright, BrowInnerUp, BrowOuterUpLeft, BrowOuterUpRight, CheekPuff, CheekSquintLeft, CheekSquintRight, NoseSneerLeft, NoseSneerRight, and tongue. And just to also make sure that you see as well with wireframe to see what has changed, here are the following movements when it comes to each blend shape when it comes to wireframe. So go ahead and take a gander. This is also especially useful if you already know how to make iPhone blend shapes and want to make sure that you're doing it correctly. So there you go. Boom. So yeah. And one last thing before I do go ahead and test the blend shapes out, I am aware that sometimes there are going to be some teeth clipping issues when it comes to the iPhone blend shapes. Now, typically on my own models, I tend to have it where the teeth is not too close to the lips like this. I tend to, basically in the bases, I would move it backwards like this. That is how I usually prevent the teeth clipping issues. But if by chance you don't want to do it, you'll have to go into each of the blend shapes that have the clipping issues, such as the mouse shrug, this mouse shrug blend shape, or the mouse shifting. Make sure that you adjust the blend shapes to prevent mouse clipping. But I'm gonna go ahead and quickly kind of like fine-tune these extra blend shapes here, and we should at least be okay to at least start testing and debugging. So yeah, there we go. We have made all the 52 ARKit blend shape, but we are not done yet. We still got some stuff to do. So the next thing we're gonna do, we're going to test out our blend shapes and learn how to fix our blend shapes properly and debug them before we convert our models to VRM. And after we do the iFacial mocap stuff, we will then do the VRM process, and hopefully that should be it. And if you have any other questions, definitely leave them in the YouTube comments. And also make sure, if you need a private tutor, please go into the description below, find my Discord tag, which is Hana space Huyiko hashtag 7158, and DM, add me as a friend. I'll add you, and then you can ask all your questions or request for a private tutor session, so feel free. But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead, before showing you guys the how to test it, you guys have to learn about how the iFacial mocap app works. So in the next scene, you're gonna learn about the iFacial mocap itself in real life. In this following section of the tutorial, I'll be showing you guys how to set up iFacial mocap and learn how to use the app. And also just to let you know, if by any chance you see a little red light popping up at this part of the camera, which you can possibly see right now, that is basically the infrared lighting from the depth sensor. You tend to see it only when you're looking through like a camera lens, like on a phone or a typical camera. So that's a little extra note that, that's interesting. But basically, the first option right here, this basically enables the character model right here. There are some people who don't like seeing this character for some reason, so if you do not want to see this character and you prefer to see your face, then go ahead and tap that option. I'm not going to tap that option because you guys, we ain't doing a face reveal. So, there's that. And don't worry, if by any chance your real face is showing on the iPhone, it will not be shown on your VTuber streams. Unless you, for some reason, take out a camera, take a picture of your iPhone with your face showing, and post it on Twitter or on your Twitch stream, then you'll reveal your face like that. But no, there's no way to have the face on the iPhone show on VC Face in the computer. There's no way. So you're safe with iFacial mocap. iFacial mocap will not dox you. So record mode. Record mode is mainly used when it comes to sending FBX data to Blender, Maya, or some other 3D program. You don't really need it as a VTuber, but if you want to make some Blender animations, feel free to use it. Have fun with it. You can still use the iFacial mocap application, the PC app, in order to do the recording there, which is much more convenient. Mosaic is basically just when you're using your real face, it tends to like kind of make your face look blocky. That's a preference choice if you want. I don't really use it. Look forward is basically calibrating your face. So if by any chance the head model is looking the wrong way, then just tap on that button to reset it. If by any chance you're testing out your blend shapes and you want to reset all of your blend shapes without having to go to each blend shape and zeroing them out manually, go ahead and tap these two buttons here. This button disables all blend shapes or any tracking on the upper part of the face, and this one disables all the mouth tracking. So you can basically just pause your tracking with those two buttons, and basically it makes your Blender life easier. Like I said, when you're finished with testing out your model, enable these two, basically tap on these two options so that way it'll disable the tracking, and then disconnect from iFacial mocap with Blender, and everything should be a-okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and press the gear button, and this is where some other stuff, this is the good stuff here. So if you are a VTuber and you are going to be streaming for hours, please enable this option right here, optimize for long time streaming. This will help prevent your iPhone from blowing up. So once you enable that, if you go press back, it's going to basically remove the character, which some people actually really like that. So, and also I prefer using this if you are streaming because it will not blow up your phone. But even then, get some sort of like iPhone cooler that will really help you out. You can get one on Amazon if you want to prevent your iPhone from dying. So, a little extra note. Adjusting the motion weight is basically where you can be able to edit each individual blend shape. So if you want to make your, let's say when you're talking, your mouth feels too small, but you don't want to go back to Blender to fix it, you can be able to tap on this area here, and you can scroll to each of the individual ARKit Blendshapes. So I can go to JawOpen, and basically what you can do for the weight, it basically is kind of like the influence. It can basically I guess if I were to say, it makes the tracking a little bit more sensitive on that one blend shape. So you can open your mouth very tiny, and this can make your mouth open very big if you made the weight like a value of 2 or 3 or something. You have to experiment with this. The min and maximum, they basically help with stretching. So if you were to make the max, let's say like 10, and you make the weight into like 5, you're going to stretch out the blend shape a lot. It's going to actually stretch. If you were to edit just the weight value, it would not stretch the blend shape. It'll just make the blend shape it'll just make the tracking like more sensitive, but the max, it'll just actually stretch your blend shape a lot more than it should. So be careful with using that option there. The minimum, it'll, basically what minimum small, it'll basically kind of like help limit how much the blend shape moves. So yeah, there's that. It's really just trial and error. You just play around with this if you want. I myself don't really touch this, but some people that I know do touch this and edit it, so it's really helpful. If by any chance you feel like you want to reset all your blend shape settings, go ahead and tap this button here, and this is for all blend shape settings, not just one, all of them. So please keep that in mind before pressing that button. There is also smoothing motion, which helps smooth out your iPhone tracking, but I don't really use this, but feel free to use this if you want to. So there you go. There's some extra options here. For version of interface, I typically put mine as a V1. By default, you will get a V2, which if I go to V2 right now, it'll look like this. The reason why I use V1 is because it has the two options to disable the upper and the lower face tracking, which is really useful for Blender stuff. So I recommend V1, but if you prefer V2, then feel free, but V1, that's what I prefer the most. So yeah. So we're gonna go with V1. There's some other stuff as well. There's also Face Motion 3D, which I don't use Face Motion 3D, but feel free to check out the differences if you want to make the purchase for Face Motion 3D. That's your choice. You can also put VRM models in here as well. You'll have to use iTunes. You'll have to like connect your iPhone to your computer and use iTunes and stuff to port your VRM model into iFacial mocap. It's kind of unnecessary to do that because it might actually instead blow up your phone. So use that at your own risk if you're doing that. Because it uses more rendering. It uses more rendering power and it's going to heat up the phone easily. So that's if you really want to. So yeah. But other than that though, that's pretty much it for how to use iFacial mocap. Hopefully that helps clear up everything on iFacial mocap and stuff. So yeah. Let's continue on with the tutorial. Alright, so for this section, before we can actually test our model real time in Blender, do keep in mind that Blender can sometimes have some lag. So don't be scared if Blender has some lagging when it comes to the real time tracking. Blender just has a thing where they just have this FPS thing. So basically, this is the iFacial mocap app, and basically what you have to do is on the iPhone IP address, you'll have to basically type in the iPhone IP address into iFacial mocap, from iFacial mocap to the PC app itself, which the PC app is free, but the iFacial mocap app is $6, at least what I was told. So make sure that you buy the app and then download the free PC application. And there is a tutorial from the creator on how to properly install the add-on, because you do need the Blender add-on as well, which comes with the PC app. So make sure that you click on the button that says add-on and make sure you install according to the tutorial, which link in description for that tutorial. So yeah. And do keep in mind, if by any chance, just to let you know, if by any chance your iPhone IP address has been accidentally revealed, do not panic. Your iPhone IP address is called a local IP. It does not dox you. I will say that right now. iPhone IP addresses do not dox you. At least the ones using the one from iFacial mocap. That thing will not dox you. It's a local IP. It changes a lot. The reason why I have mine censored is just mainly in case somebody says something about it or questions it. So I have it there just to prevent anything, but, prevent any questions and stuff. But, keep in mind, if it has been revealed, don't fret. It is a local IP. It does not mean you'll be doxxed. You will be safe. Do not panic. Do not worry. So yeah. But what you'll have to do though, for the app is that you'll have to basically, go into the face object. So for Vroid model, typically they have something named face.baked, or unless you rename it to something else, which on the top right of Blender is a hierarchy. It'll show you your object's name. Just copy and paste the name to iFacial mocap and everything should be a-okay. You can bake animations if you want to for, if you want to like have some animation in the Blender for production use, which there's that. You can also be able to test out your model's movement here by typing out the name. For Vroid models, they have a little bit of a weirder name, but still works. So definitely check out Blender to see the basically the bone names and basically registering it. These are basically set to my own custom models, settings, but for Vroid it could be different, or unless you rename it yourself. So yeah. There are more settings as well down here and all that, such as the, more head stuff, eye, neck bone, and all that stuff. So definitely check around. I won't go into the other stuff, play around with it. But even then, though, this is very simple. All you have to do is make sure that Blender is selected up here. Select 2.9, even if you're using 3.0, still select 2.9, and then click on connect to Blender, so that way it can start connecting. My iPhone is actually off though, so that's why it's not connecting, but once your iPhone is on, and you also type in the right IP address, because this is the incorrect one, you can then be able to connect. It'll swap from connect to blender to disconnect, and when you're ready to finish, tracking, if you're finished testing, you click on the disconnect button that pops up, and then it'll revert back to this. So yeah, let's go ahead into Blender and test out our tracking. Alright, so as you can see now, I set up iFacial mocap with the add-on, and all you have to do is basically, type your IP address and also the object name. I renamed, in case for some reason your model doesn't work, make sure to possibly rename the object to something like face instead of face.baked. And also make sure to check if you accept the firewall. You need to accept the firewall or your iPhone will not work with either VC Face or Blender or iFacial mocap. So every time you see the firewall pop up, please make sure to click on yes. Do not click no, otherwise it's not going to work, and you'll have to go into the firewall and basically add something to where it'll add a permission so that way you can be able to have the tracking to work. But as you can see though, the tracking is actually working pretty well, and yeah. There could be some work that could be done with the upper squint. It could definitely be more enhanced, but it overall works pretty well. Now, let's see if there are some issues with some clipping. Not as much, maybe a little bit. So let's say if you do run into some clipping issues, by the way, and you're not a fan of it and you want to get it fixed up, you'll definitely have to do some troubleshooting with it. So definitely go back to your blend shapes and make sure everything is smoothed out. But if by any chance there is a pose that you've done that look, something that you can't really find within the blend shapes alone, and you'll have to figure out what's causing it, you'll have to basically click on the iFacial mocap panel and make sure to click on the button to pause the face. And then what you'll have to do is basically go through each blend shape and kind of like move them around to see which one is potentially causing the issue. Usually the first step I would do is that I would typically look for the blend shape that has the biggest number and see if that one is causing the issue. So, for example, like the frown, but the frown is not causing issues. Check about the, let's see what else is down. Let's see here. Let's check mouth pucker. Mouth pucker is not the cause of this clipping issue here. Let's see. So definitely, it may take a while to find the bugs. Oh wait, I think I might have found one. It might be something with the, something with the roll here. So we can try to see if we can smooth it out a bit to see if that helps the issue. Lower, like that. Could also be the shrug here too, so we can also check that out. Because usually, as I said, the shrug mouth can tend to be the more problematic blend shape sometimes, which is surprising for some reason. But yeah. But once you have that, test it out. And there you go. Just like that. It has been pretty much resolved, so I'm really happy about that. So yeah. So pretty much though, do some trial and error, fix ups with it. But overall, by default, the way I did it, it works pretty well. Besides the fact that the eye squinting can be more, and in case you want to know how to possibly enhance that, what you can also do, which I'll go ahead and pause the tracking. So just a heads up, I will be using the actual app to pause my face tracking like this, which is done by the upper off and the lower off on the app. And in case you accidentally skimmed and you don't know what I'm talking about, please replay the iFacial mocap section where I go over the real life iPhone and the app itself. So just a heads up there. But what I can do is I can go into the squint and I can increase the max value to, let's say, a value of 2. And you can basically increase the stretching here. You can make a duplicate of the squint, and you can go ahead and basically have it where instead of this blend shape here, you can have it where it's the newly duplicate one. So just rename it and you can have this. So yeah, and I'll do the same thing with the other one here. Increase the max value and just like that. Duplicate it, delete the old one or the other one, and there you go. And see if it works. If it doesn't work, then once again, trial and error. There you go. Just like that. So yeah, pretty much this is how you would make the iPhone blend shapes. And as you can see, it looks pretty nice. So I'm really happy about it. So yeah. And, you know, once you're satisfied with it, make sure you pause your tracking so that way every single of the blend shape values are 0. Make sure to click on waiting for connection. And what you can do is you can start unhiding everything. So Alt-H everything so your model can come back. And what you can do now is basically, you know, make sure that you save your Blender project so that way it doesn't, you know, you didn't lose anything. So I'll go ahead and save my project, which I have not saved at all. I'll save it over here in the folder. And once you have this, now the next step though, after you finish your blend shapes, you will then have to go ahead and select everything on your model. And what you'll have to do then, you'll have to go and basically set up FBX, which I'll quickly go ahead and rename the object here so it's a little cleaner. And what you have to do is select everything, file, export, and you have to export as an FBX. Now technically you can from Blender you can export from, you know, into VRM directly. I have tried it before and it actually does work. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. So you can experiment and see if the exporting to VRM from Blender works. You might actually get it to work, but if by any chance something doesn't work or you get an error or something like that, you can try fixing the error. But usually I will go through the FBX, which for this case I'm gonna have to. So I'm gonna click on export as FBX, and just to describe it for you, which I will make sure to send a screenshot of, make sure that you go ahead before you export your FBX model. Go to the right side of your screen and make sure to click on Apply Transformation or Apply Transform, and click on the armature tab, and make sure to disable the button called Add Leaf Bones. Add Leaf Bones basically adds extra unnecessary bones to your model, which is really just useless. So basically, you know, do keep that in mind. Just uncheck that. But other than that though, name your FBX file, click on Export FBX, give it some time to process, and in the next cut, I'm going to show you guys how to properly, basically convert your model into VRM with the iPhone blend shapes. And we're going to do it the manual way while also, knowing how to properly do the more automatic way when you're trying to get your old model settings into the new model. So I will see you guys then. All right. So this is going to be a brand new Unity project. I'm currently using version, I'm using 2019.4.31, which is the same version that is recommended for the VSF SDK, in case you're wondering. So I'll be using this version of Unity. I'll also be using UniVRM 0.66 because 0.66 not only works with with the VSF SDK, but it's also the more stable version of UniVRM, since UniVRM is working on more updates with their add-on. So what I'm going to do first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and load in 0.66 UniVRM into my Unity project and give it some time, basically for everything to begin loading. And it'll take some time here. So right now it's importing my assets. And once it's finished, it's going to pop up with 3 different folders. It should be called VRM, VRM shader, and then Uni GLTF, because VRM is based off of the GLTF format. So there you go, you see the file there. And the next thing we'll have to do is we have to prep up our our model folder. So I'll go ahead and name this test, which is going to be the test model that I have exported out. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to find the model that I just exported as FBX. And what I'm going to do, if I can go find it here. So FBX, I'm going to go ahead and import it here. So right there, as you can see, there is the Vroid model. Now, there's a question I've been having a lot lately. How do you get the exact same original shaders from your old VRM to this new one? Well, what I basically do is I make a new folder inside of the character folder, and I name it ref. The reason why I named it ref is because it's a reference, basically meaning this is the model that I'm going to be copying all of my settings. So I basically, in the ref folder, I import the original VRM file, the one that has all the physics, all of the, you know, the shading and all the settings, and I basically import it here, just like that. So, and then you can see here as a side-to-side comparison. This one is the color version. This one is not. So I'll go ahead and hide this one for now, because we can copy the physics things at least. For iPhone, I will manually apply them myself, which I will show you. But basically, what we'll have to do first and foremost, we'll have to go into the FBX setting of our model. Click on the rig, and you're going to click humanoid, and you're going to give it a bit to, you know, register. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on configure, click on save, and you're going to go into the head and make sure that the jawbone is not registered. If your jawbone is registered, make sure to click on this the delete key and remove it. If by any chance you need your jawbone, whether you're an animal VTuber or a robot VTuber that needs a jawbone, keep it on. But when it comes to like generic you know, models that have blend shapes, then don't use that. Now, the next thing you'll have to do is go into model and please click on legacy Blendshape normals right here. This is very important because every single time you import your FBX file, you will always have broken normals. I don't know why, but especially with VRM stuff, it's going to look very broken. So please make sure to enable this. Then what you're going to do is go into your materials, and then you're going to click on the left side here with the little hierarchy, the mini hierarchy here at the bottom. You're going to expand the ref file, the folder, click on the material folder, and you're going to click and drag your original materials from the old model to the new model right here. So, and make sure to get all this right, so that way there are no mistakes made. So let me go ahead and register. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And that way you can be able to get the exact same shading. So I'll click on apply. Make sure everything is correct. If there's anything wrong, please make sure to correct it. But there you go. See, everything seems normal, just like the original. And then what you'll have to do, if your model is not in T-pose, make sure to click on VRM 0 and click on freeze T-pose, but in this case our model is already in T-pose, so we don't have to worry about it. So we're going to click on export uni VRM, and then you can go ahead and insert all of your information, whether you you know, put in all the information or you're just, you know, putting random stuff just to get the VRM file. So I'm going to go ahead and export it into the folder I made for the character. So test, give it some time. And then what I do, I'm going to then create a new folder. I'm going to call it test VRM. It'll be inside. And then I can go ahead and delete this model right here. And I will then import the newly made VRM file. So give it some time. And once it imports, it's going, and yes, we do have to re-import it because we have to add our physics and blend shapes. And this is the part where a lot of people tend to ask me, how do you register iPhone blend shapes to UniVRM? So I'm going to tell you first and foremost, you're going to have to manually register each and every single blend shape. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to manually register them, because there is no active add-on there's no existing add-on yet. I don't know if there'll be one in existence, but there is no add-on available as of this creation of the video, where basically it converts FBX blend shapes to be automatically registered as VRM blend shapes. Sadly, there is no way as of right now. So you'll have to click on the blend shape folder, which is the third folder. Click on the blend shape animation clip here, and what you will have to do, you will have to manually click on create blend shape clip, and what you'll have to do is on the file explorer that pops up, you'll have to type in the iPhone blend shapes name, open jaw, mouse funnel, EyeBlinkLeft and EyeBlinkRight, just like that. Now, the question I also have as well, how do you type out the iPhone blend shape names? Well, I'll tell you right now, type them exactly what you just put on Blender. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind as well. Apparently, I don't know what's up with VMagic Mirror, but apparently if you have the blend shape names as lowercase, the ones that the Apple developer website uses, apparently VMagic Mirror hates that. I don't know why. So you have to make them capitalized. I'm pretty sure they should be able to work with lowercase. I don't know. I can't confirm. This is a bug that I heard from someone else. But if by any chance you have issues, please make sure that the blend shape names are capitalized like this, so that way everything can start working. Jaw left, and then jaw right. And yes, you have to type all of this manually, just like what I'm doing right here. And like I said, this may not be fun, but this is what we have to do. So yeah, mouse pucker. So yeah, but what I'm going to do, I will actually say before I go jump cut, so you can see the full blend shapes in their full glory, what you'll have to do in case, by any chance, you have made the, you have done the, the manual registering of the blend shapes, but let's say in VCFace, you notice there's a bug, and you have to go back in Blender and have to redo the process. If by any chance you have to do that, there is an option where you can be able to copy the VRM registered names and paste them on the new model. Now, like I said, this add-on does not copy and paste the vertex data of the FBX blend shapes. It only copies the names of the VRM blend shapes and basically have it auto-register according to the order that the blend shapes are in. So if you change orders of the blend shape, it might act up. But basically in the description, it should be called Copy Settings VRM or Uni VRM Extension. I have two links for it. One with UniVRM extension, and the other one is a Unity package that is pretty much similar, but tends to work most of the time. So you have two options in case one of them ends up breaking. And you're going to download that add-on and you're going to import it in here. And that actually is the same add-on I use to copy physics as well. So let me go ahead, before the jump cut, I'm going to go to Unity add-ons and I'm going to load in the copy VRM settings Unity package that I have, which should be very quick and works very well. Another tab should open up called VRM, which says copy VRM settings up there. And basically what I do, I would click on the things, and also as I should be able to have a screenshot of how the setup should look like. But basically the source avatar should be set to the original model. So if by any chance you had to you had to go back to Blender and fix your blend shapes again, the source avatar will be the model that has the manually registered VRM blend shapes. The iPhone blend shape register, and then the destination avatar will be the one that doesn't have the registered iPhone blend shapes and that it needs it. And then make sure you disable meta information, and pretty much everything else can be checked, or just check VRM blend shape only. Really depends on your case. And what you'll have to do is you'll have to click on copy and paste, and everything should be copy and paste. And especially with the add-on, it should also be able to copy and paste the physics here. Well, in this case, it copied the colliders, which is great. So that is something really nice about the add-on. It can help copy and paste and simplify your work. But do keep in mind, make sure that this is all done within one single Unity project file if you have to do the copy VRM Blendshapes. Like I said, this is for copying the VRM Blendshap registration, just to make it simpler for you if you have to constantly go back to Blender. This helps make the workflow much more faster and not painful. So you're welcome. But yeah. And another thing as well, just keep in mind, if you go into your Unity project file, it's brand new, you import your model, and you import your, your newly VRM model, and you need to register the iPhone Blendshape, but you don't want to do it at all. If you were to go on the website, take like the Hana tool Vroid models from Vroid Hub, you take those perfect sync models and you import those into Unity, and you try to copy the Blendshape names from them to your model. I will tell you, there is an issue where basically I'm not sure why this happens with the add-on, but basically it'll have it says something along which I will show you. Hold on. So let's say with Mouth Pucker, it'll say baked pucker, like that. So if you were to take the Vroid, any Vroid hub with models with the iPhone Blendshape, and you try to copy the registered VRM Blendshapes to your own VRM model, it's gonna come out like this, and you'll have to manually delete the baked prefix. So it's not really nice. I would prefer manually registering it, but if you have to, then feel free to do that. Yeah, at least it kind of cuts down some time, but even then, please be careful with the add-on and test it out. Use it at your own risk if you want, I guess. But yeah, other than that though, I'm going to go and jump cut to where the Blendshapes are registered, and I will see you then. Alright, so I went ahead and manually registered all of the Blendshapes, and as you can see, everything is registered properly. So all of them should have the exact names according to the Apple developer website or the Polywink model. The thing is that I had to capitalize the Blendshape names, and the reason for that is mainly because of VMagick Mirror, because for some reason, I'm not sure if this is correct, I might be wrong, but VMagick Mirror has a thing where basically they are case sensitive on the Blendshapes. So if you have them all capitalized like this, it should work for VMagick Mirror, but I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah. Either way though, I tend to capitalize my stuff personally, so this does still work with VCFace, but this is how, if you want it to work in any VRM program, it's set up like this, unless the VRM program has something to do with cap sensitivity. I don't know. You'll have to consult the application's instructions on VRM Blendshapes regarding the iPhone Blendshapes. And what I did though, as well, in order to actually get it to where, because as you can see in the preview window, the Blendshape should be showing. How you actually get it to where it works. So after you click on create Blendshape clip and you had to name everything manually, or unless you use the add-on, you already did everything, you had to copy and paste, you're fine. But if you have to manually do all this, you'll have to click on the button right here. Click on the arrow, the tiny arrow right there, right here under Blendshape right here. And there's a big list right here that shows all the Blendshapes that are in the model. Find the one that corresponds with the name of the Blendshape, such as Cheek Puff for this case. So Cheek Puff down here. And then you do this for every single one. You have to click on the tiny arrow and then find your Blendshape. And then after that, click again, tiny arrow again, scroll down, find the name that matches, and keep on going 52 times. So yeah, other than that though, let's go ahead and export out this model since we have finished. So click on your model in the hierarchy, click on VRM 0, export as 0.66, and then save your model on whichever place that you're going to save it in. And let's go ahead, I'm going to go jump cut to the part where I show you guys how the model works in VCFace. So let's go see it. Alright, as you can see, this is the final result on how the iPhone blend shapes look like, and I'm really happy with how they came out. You can have an angry face, you can have a really happy face, you're gonna be shocked. It's pretty simple though. You can do mouse shifting, but yeah, pretty much, and also tongue, just like that. So overall, it's pretty good though. Definitely, you know, I could do some refinements here and there to make it even more dynamic, but even then, overall, it works. And that is how you make iPhone blend shapes from scratch, or at least maybe some work with using some pre-existing blend shapes though. But even then, that's really how you get it to work. And hopefully this ultimate guide helps you out. If you have any other questions, please let me know. And do keep in mind that yes, these blend shapes not only work with iFacial mocap, they can work with other applications such as Wide.io, LiveLink for Unreal Engine, Roku face capture application. It also works with the upcoming Virtu app, which I've heard about. It should work with pretty much any other typical iPhone app, unless there are for some reason case sensitive, which I don't know about that. You'll have to consult to the app's stuff. But even then though, that's pretty much it though. If you have any other questions, please comment down in the YouTube comments if you have questions or any issues. If by any chance it's a deeper issue and it's really bad, please go into the description. Please use the Discord tag Hana space Huiko hashtag 7158. Add me as a friend on Discord, and you can request me to either private tutor you or answer a question that may, like if you have any constant questions basically. Do keep in mind though, when it comes to DMing me, please do not constantly DM me about, you know, helping you out on a commission, because that's not my commission, that's your commission. But I am happy to at least help assist if there are some new issues that are new to you. But please don't constantly contact me if it comes to you doing commissions regarding iPhone, since I am aware that there are going to be people who will do commissions about iPhone blend shapes. So please make sure that before you do iPhone blend shape commissions, make sure that you master the skills before doing so, and make sure that you know, if by any chance there's any issues, you know, feel free to contact me, but make sure that you prepare yourself for the worst of iPhone blend shapes. So yeah, that's a little extra advice from the Hana in case you know, you want to learn about iPhone blend shapes to do commissions. So yeah, other than that though, have a lovely day though, and I hope to see you guys next time. All right, so you can sign out everyone, and have a lovely day. Bye.